Welcome in, everybody. It's a live Patriots Beat podcast. Evan Lazar, Alex Barth, our final mock draft for the 2021 NFL Draft for the New England Patriots. We are about 48 hours or so here, Alex, from round one of the NFL Draft beginning. We are starting to hear some inklings of what not only the Patriots might be doing in the first round, but the rest of the first round as well. And the two things that you hear routinely in terms of linking things to New England. Number one, the Patriots to this point have had discussions about moving up into the top 10 of the draft. Now, right now, I think a lot of them are similar to what Bill Belichick said in the past, and that you're kind of just talking through scenarios, right? If this player falls to this range, will we be willing to do what it takes to move up to get that player? And for me, that sounds to me like that is happening right now with the Carolina Panthers and the New England Patriots talking about, for the Patriots, Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields. So if Justin Fields is there at 8 when Carolina comes on the clock, I think the Patriots have had preliminary discussions with Carolina about moving up from 15 to 8 to make Justin Fields their pick in the quarterbacks. Now, the other thing that you hear, Alex, that just in terms of this draft for the Patriots, is that Patrick Surtain, the cornerback from Alabama, and J.C. Horn, the cornerback from South Carolina, most likely, I would say, aren't going to make it, will not make it to 15. So the two teams that
Which is a bummer, because Horn's been my guy if they stay at 15. That's been my guy.
Me as well. And the kind of conventional wisdom around lead circles right now, number 10, Dallas, whether they trade out of that pick or they stay put, they are going to take a corner in the first round. That's the first part of this equation. I would say that Patrick Surtain, his floor is 10 to Dallas. If he's still on the board at 10, I think the Cowboys will make him their pick. J.C. Horn is going to come off the board shortly thereafter, and the team that I would look at is the Philadelphia Eagles at number 12. So both those teams at 10 and 12, I believe, are looking cornerback. And for that reason, I think there's a chance, a pretty high chance, I would say, that both Surtain and Horn are gone by the Patriots at the time the Patriots would be on the clock at 15. So connecting those dots, the Patriots, again, have had conversations, preliminary discussions with the Carolina Panthers about moving up to number 8 to get a quarterback. The two corners look like they're going to go higher than maybe we all expected. And the last domino, the position other than quarterback that you hear a lot for the Patriots right now, is offensive tackle, which I don't think is much of a surprise to anybody, especially the people that have been following us, Alex, that we've talked about tackles at 15 for a long time. So those are the things you hear. Corner, maybe not in the first round anymore, because I think those two guys might be gone and the value is not going to be there past Surtain and Horn to take a corner in the top 20 or the top 15. Tackle, if not quarterback, that's where I'm at 48 hours before the draft, Alex.
So you don't think there's a chance that they move up for a non-quarterback? Like, okay, so you mentioned that the floor for Surtain is 10, right? Let's say Denver, for whatever reason, can't get their quarterback. You don't think maybe the Patriots try to move up to 9, or even, I mean, they're already talking to the Panthers. Maybe Fields is off the board, but they call the Panthers and Surtain's sitting there at 8, and they say, hey, you know, if you still want to make this deal, we still want to make this deal, and maybe that's the move. So I'm not something that I've kind of become increasingly open to, and I don't think it's likely, but I'm kind of opening up more and more to the concept of a trade up in the first round that's not for a quarterback, whether it's Surtain falling or whether it's Sewell falling. Some people have discussed that. Maybe they move up to get a different position.
I don't think it's totally out of the realm of possibility, but I think that if you're going to do that, then the asking price is a real big question, because you're not moving up for a quarterback now, right? So you shouldn't need to pay the quarterback premium. So if you're going to move up to 9 to take Patrick Surtain instead of moving up to 9 to take Justin Fields, then the trade value should reflect that, right? You shouldn't.
Right. Well, at the same time, if Fields isn't on the board, that pick's not worth as much. You don't have to give up as much.
Right. So that's where I think it's a possibility. The other one that you hear a little bit of, and it's mostly just because of value of the players that could potentially be there lining up with New England, is wide receiver, right? And the potential of maybe one of those two Alabama guys falling into the Patriots range. Now, Jalen Waddle, I think, is a really intriguing prospect for everybody due to his speed. to me, Devontae Smith's route running ability, just kind of high football IQ, instincts, natural playability, and play speed. Those things I think check a lot of the boxes that the Patriots have always coveted at the wide receiver position. Catch and run ability, strong at the catch point, and just seems to play faster and play more instinctive than everybody else on the field. Even though he's not a guy that runs a 4-3, he seems to be moving faster than everybody else because he knows how to play football, right? And that's, I think, something that they would really covet at that spot as well. So I talked about tackle. That's sort of now I've zeroed in on that being the number one non-quarterback option for the Patriots. Corner, maybe you could be onto something that they could trade up. I think that most of their trade up discussions we've assumed have surrounded around the quarterback position.
Right. I'm not saying it's going to be the same deal, but I mean, again, you've already talked to this team. You've already established some sort of connection. It might not be that hard to go back and say, hey, we're not going to give you as much, but this is what we were talking about, and let's see if we can build something from it.
Sure. And then the last one, every single mock draft that you see, not every single one, but a lot of mock drafts that you see are the Patriots targeting wide receiver because they look at that wide receiver room. Nelson Aguilar is a nice piece. Kendrick Bourne's a nice piece. But are any of those guys bona fide number one receivers? And the answer is no. Right. So that, I think, to me is where we're sort of at this point with the Patriots. I know that's kind of casting a pretty wide net, so it's not exactly zeroing in, but I don't want to sit here and act 48 hours before the draft like anybody has any clue what Bill Belichick's about to do in 2 nights. Right. I think that if you're sitting here saying that I know exactly who the Patriots are going to take, you're lying to people that are listening to you. So to us, or to me, tackle, corner, quarterback, wide receiver as a long shot. I think that those are the 4 positions that the Patriots are entertaining in the first round, with maybe linebacker thrown in there as well if somebody like Patrick Surtain or Zaven Collins is someone that they really, really like. But the idea of wide receiver, I think, is more brewed from the media than anything that I've actually heard within the organization.
Yeah, I don't buy the wide receiver pick. I said this before. I think wide receiver is actually one of their lower needs. I think that you're going to be 12 personnel here, or 21 personnel, but mostly 12 personnel with the 2 tight ends you signed. Right. You're going to be 12 personnel for the foreseeable future, the next 3 or 4 years. You paid Nelson Aguilar a good amount of money. You didn't pay Kendrick Bourne nothing. You have Jacoby Myers, who's a capable player. Where's the room? Where are you putting this guy on the field? Are you just going to are you going to give up on Jacoby Myers? Which, look, would I rather have Devonta Smith than Jacoby Myers, or Jalen Waddle than Jacoby Myers? Sure. But, for what else you could do with that pick, are you just going to kind of give up on one of these receivers and shuffle the room? There's no path to this guy playing for the next 2 or 3 years. I know it's a legendary wide receiver class. I get all that. If they want to take somebody later on, on day 3, whatever, but there's already a roster crunch in terms of pass catchers with wide receiver and tight end. There's not a ton of snaps available at the position. They have other needs. Again, like you said, I think the wide receiver thing is just, after last year, I think Patriots receivers has become somewhat of a meme. And, Rodrigo Blankenship was it last year. There's some draft narratives that just become memes and everybody expects they're going to happen. Patriots wide receiver, to me, is just an internet meme. I don't really think that there's much solid factual context behind it that, they would go. Now that I've said all this, they'll take a wide receiver in the first round. But again, where is that guy playing? If this is, maybe they'll do it, but this is
its best player available, right? Like, if they go wide receiver, they're staying at 15, and because he's 166 pounds, Devontae Smith falls to them, right? That's why they would go wide receiver, is because they have that player, whether it's Smith or it's Waddle. It's not going to be Chase. Whether it's Smith or it's Waddle, they have that player graded out so much higher than everybody else on their board that they say, let's do it, right?
But I guess
the one thing quickly, the one thing that you hear, though, on the outside is about how they need a wide receiver because Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne and all these guys aren't enough, right? They're not enough. Right. They're not enough. That's why
they signed 2 great tight ends. Like, nobody throw that out the window for this conversation.
I don't think understands as much as we do here in New England how successful a 12 personnel offense running through your passing game through 2 tight ends can be, because most people haven't seen Gronk and Aaron Hernandez up close, right? You know, they don't really get that, oh, wow, you can really build it this way. You can really do it this way and dominate the middle of the field and have these 2 tight ends be your basically the engine of your passing game. Most people look at that and say, you need an outside receiver. You need a stud on the outside. How are you going to throw the football without a wide receiver one, as the fantasy football people like to put it, right? And we can see football played in a different way because we've seen it happen before.
Right. And I mean, I'll add to this too, and I am gonna get shredded for this, but I don't care because it's the truth. And Evan, I know you know it's the truth.
Yeah.
A big problem with the N'Keal Harry pick isn't that N'Keal Harry's a bad player. I don't actually think should they have taken him 32nd? No. I don't think he's that bad of a player. Part of the problem was they had no plan for him, right? What they were asking him to do didn't line up with what he could do on the field.
They've misevaluated his play speed at the college level compared to what it was going to be at the NFL level. So they thought that he was going to be this ball carrier for them, right? Right. Use him on sweeps, use him on passes behind the line of scrimmage, throw screen passes to him, and then throw the ball up the field to him on back shoulders and high points.
But they didn't end up doing any of that.
Right. That was what I think that they wanted to do with him. Then they got him into the NFL and they got him into the room and they were like, this guy's a lot slower than he played at Arizona. Right.
Right. So here's my point. If you're picking somebody in the first round, you need a role for them. You need an immediate role for them.
Right.
And I just don't know. And at the same time, you have guys on your roster that you paid significant money, that you need a role for those guys to get your return on your investment. I don't know that both of those things are compatible unless they just totally throw Jacoby Myers out the window and say we're done with him. I just don't know that those two things are compatible if they take a receiver in the first round.
Right. And the other thing is just looking at the chat and then N'Keal Harry is awful. Yeah, we're not defending N'Keal Harry. All right. We're basically
the point is if you have a first round pick, you need a plan for him. The plan for a Patriots first round pick receiver stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So the other thing that we're seeing a lot in the chat, and it bears bringing up until we're about to get into the mock draft. Alex is trying to get the mock draft.
It's not going to happen. We're just going to have to cut. We'll explain in a minute here.
Yeah, we're trying to get the PFF simulator to actually line up with what we think is actually going to happen on Thursday night, and that the randomness is getting to the simulator. But before we get into it, Jimmy Garoppolo, right?
Yeah.
He's been available for a while. I don't care what the San Francisco 49ers say on the outside. They did want to wait to the draft. I reported that a few months ago right before free agency began, that they wanted to wait to the draft to make sure that they got their guy at number 3. Now they know they're going to get their guy at number 3. They already know who they're going to pick. I think that they're having a little bit of a battle between the front office and the coaching staff. Coaching staff wants Mac Jones. Front office wants Trey Lance. Right. Jimmy, though, the biggest obstacle for Jimmy Garoppolo is a $25.5 million contract for the team that acquires him via trade. Obviously, Once you get him in the building, if he wants to, negotiate a pay cut or a restructure or something like that, then fine. All right. But at the same time, the Patriots right now do not have enough cap space to acquire Jimmy Garoppolo. It's that simple. They don't have enough dollars to do it. Now, is there ways to make it around, circled around to be able to get to that cap space? Yeah, but do you know what you have to do? You have to trade Stephon Gilmore, or you have to dump Dante Hightower somewhere, or you have to free up that cap space to get Jimmy G under contract in the building, unless he makes that deal like more tradable with the 49ers before they trade him, right? And at the moment, is that really what you want to do? You want to just get rid of Stephon Gilmore just to fit Jimmy G under the cap? I mean, that's absolutely crazy. Right. So that's a big thing I think is getting underreported here, along with the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo's got his flaws, mainly staying on the field, which is a big one. Right. Durability is the number one ability. Right. According to Bill Belichick. Number 2 is that the Patriots actually would have to make some cap maneuvers to make it happen. So those things I think are really 2 hard things to overcome.
Yeah. And I mean, Kyle Shanahan shouldn't have said a lot of what he said the other day, and I think he needs to take a personal day or something because that was out of control.
Tape a little bit too much.
But there was a lot of truth to that. They believe that all 5 rookie quarterbacks, guys who have never taken an NFL snap in practice, forget a game, are better options than Jimmy Garoppolo. That's telling. They've had a closer look, and I know we like to say, oh, the Patriots have the inside information, and they had him. Well, the Niners have had him more recently. And what Shanahan said to me was that these Jimmy Garoppolo, because the defense with Garoppolo has always been, and I don't agree with this, but the defense has always been, They're freak injuries. There's nothing you can do. He's been unlucky. The Niners have had a closer look at him than anybody else. If they really believed that, they would take Penny Sewell, right? Or they'd take a lineman or whatever. They wouldn't move on from him. They got to a Super Bowl with him.
First-round picks to get rid of this guy. That's what I'm telling people.
His injury issues are chronic.
Yeah.
What that means is he is just built differently where he is going to suffer more injuries. If you give up, and not just Patriots, anybody, anything of substance for him, you're taking a major, major risk. I would argue more of a risk than you're taking by drafting a quarterback in the first round. Because even beyond the injuries, he's not that good when he's healthy. He's fine, but there's no upside there. He's also 30. So this isn't like, this isn't, Gardner Minshew, Drew Lock, where you're bringing in a kid and maybe it's a change of scenery. He's had his career. Jimmy Garoppolo is what he is. He's not getting any better than this. So the fact that people don't want an upside pick like Fields over Garoppolo, I said this the other day, I'll stand by it. I think the Niners blew it. I think there was a time when they could, before free agency, when they could have gotten a day 2 pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, they are going to have to pay somebody to take Jimmy Garoppolo's contract off their hands. They are going to have to move down in the draft in order to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. Kyle Shanahan blew this. He is risking irreparable damage to that organization as it exists right now. And the Niners are on the precipice of completely falling apart. I do not want to bail them out. And I don't want any part. Look, Kendrick Bourne's fine. He got out of there before it really hit the fan. I don't want anybody else from there. I don't. It looks like a disaster right now.
Yeah, I just lining up the fact that the money, the fact that the trade acquisition is what it is in terms of the cap and all that kind of stuff, and just paying Jimmy Garoppolo, the optics of paying Jimmy Garoppolo $25.5 million to be your quarterback, all that stuff is stupid enough. Then you turn on the tape and you see a guy that can't throw the ball 15 yards down the field, right? He can throw the ball underneath. He gets the ball out quickly. He's got good timing. He beats the blitz well. He's pretty
4 games a year.
Right, for when he's healthy, right? I'm not talking about when he's healthy. But let's actually discuss the tape itself and what it looks like when you get into the tape itself. All of it is really a guy that is extremely limited. And Kyle Shanahan coached around it for the last couple of years, even when Jimmy Garoppolo was out there. This is a player that threw 8 passes in the NFC Championship game, 8. And that's how they made it to the Super Bowl, was running the football 40 times, right? That's what has been going on in San Francisco. And that's what we want here in New England when you have 5 quarterbacks in the draft that all have higher ceilings than Jimmy G does, that are all probably more durable than Jimmy G is. These are the types of things that get me frustrated, because we talk about this guy here in particular like he's some god. Like
golden god.
That he's some golden boy that Bill Belichick, he found him from a FCS school and all these types of things. And he's, we've had him for a couple years. They love him, all this kind of stuff. Bill wanted Jimmy over Brady, whatever you want to talk about. And all of it is just utter nonsense when you get into the actual details of Jimmy G as a player. In terms of his contract and his performance on the field, the San Francisco 49ers said, we need a starting quarterback. That's what they looked at. They looked at the tape, they looked at the durability, they looked at the contract, and they said, we need to trade 3 first-round picks for a starting quarterback.
Yep.
And we're sitting here in New England saying, we want that guy over Justin Fields.
And they could have gotten a pick back. Meanwhile, they're going to end up cutting him. And look, if he gets cut and the Patriots can sign him for like $5 million, whatever, he's like a fine alternative to Cam, and you have them battle it out. But yeah, again, that he's going to be the savior. If you want to put the injuries aside, and if you want to put the questionable talent aside, and again, we're putting 2 huge things to the side here.
You want a guy that's you want Alex Smith, a guy that can throw the ball.
Oh, let's not be mean to Alex Smith. If you want to put all of that to the side, if you want to put the passing limitations to the side, you want to put the injuries to the side, he's 30 years old. He's not. NFL teams, they look at 2 windows. They look at the immediate window, the 1-year window, and especially the Patriots, they love that 5-year outlook. What does the 5-year outlook look like? Let me ask you this, Evan. If the Patriots they don't have to trade anything. He gets cut. The Patriots sign Jimmy Garoppolo. We'll call it 3 years, $30 million. Will be very favorable. 3 years, $30 million. Does that change the Patriots' 5-year outlook at quarterback? Not dramatically.
No.
They're still taking a quarterback in the first round this year. And if they don't take somebody this year, they're still in the hunt for an elite quarterback pick next year. He doesn't change the long-term outlook. You're just doubling down on Cam. You're saying these two guys are 50-50, maybe one of them hits. That's all Garoppolo is at this point. He's not the long-term answer people think he is. All right, do we want to get into the draft?
20 minutes later, let's get into it.
Okay.
Pull it up. Are we good to go?
So pull it up because I want to prove this point. And this is, I'll continue to rant against the Niners a little bit while I do this. I spent 30 minutes, Evan, trying to get this simulator to get Justin Fields past the third pick. More often than not, Trevor Lawrence got past the third pick. He got past the third pick twice. Justin Fields did not get past the third pick. And on this final one, Evan, Justin Fields goes first overall. And look, I know that PFF, I'm not the biggest PFF guy, okay? I'm really not. And I get that they're all projections and all of that. But my God, like if ever they took the census the other day, right? And it was like 3 billion or 3 million. I don't know what it was. It was a lot of people. And it ended with a 1. Okay. The census total ended with a 1. If everybody but that one person thinks Fields is the pick, maybe he's the pick.
Yeah.
Or Lance, or just not Mac Jones. So anyway, do you want to just kind of do this and we'll use Mac Jones as a stand-in for Justin Fields? Or do we want to use? Do we want to just pick for the Niners?
We could take over, and pick for the Niners, whichever one you got wanted. I think the manually doing the top 7 picks is maybe the way to go, and then I
don't think we need to do the top 7. I think if we just pick as the Niners, we're good.
Okay, all right, let's try.
And by the way, this was the settings that Justin Fields went first overall. That's not that extravagant. I'm gonna bring this all the way down, but all right, so. Lawrence Wilson. All right. I mean, where they're going Mac.
They're going Mac Jones.
All right.
Kyle Shanahan.
Can we tank all the Niners picks? Because I kind of need that. If you can't.
Kyle Shanahan's going to get his way. He's going to get his coach-friendly quarterback. The guy that wants to
just a healthier Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, yeah, exactly. Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get his guy.
Okay, so I'm going to let it move past 7 because I thought I was going to let it move past 7. This is the talk of the day right here.
So Patrick Surtain at 7, or I just mentioned off the top of the show that I think that Surtain and Horn both are going to be gone by 15. This lines up for that, right? Surtain's going to go at 7. Horn's going to go to 10 to Dallas at 10. He's not going to be on the board for the Patriots. So at this point, your corners are probably going to be gone. Quarterback Justin Fields is still on the board for you at 8.
Oh, well, you do also have Pitts on the board. This happened last time too.
Yeah, Pitts is going to go to both. I think Pitts is going 4 to Atlanta. I think 5 is going to be Penei Sewell. I think 6 is probably going to be Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase. 7 is a wild card. I think Detroit has so many needs they could pretty much do anything with that 7th pick. I think Patrick Surtain going 7 there makes a whole lot of sense. So here we are on the clock. 8 Carolina. The trade that you hear is 15, 46, and then maybe a 2022 mid-rounder just to sweeten the pot, because there are going to be teams behind the Patriots like Chicago, like the Washington football team, like Pittsburgh potentially, that might also try to make this move up. So that's the sweetener to just make sure you get it over the top. So I don't like including 46, but it's the cost of doing business,
right?
Unfortunately.
This is it's kind of halfway in between. So in 2018, in a similar draft where there are a lot of quarterbacks, right? The Cardinals, Lamar wasn't in that top group, right? The last quarterback in that top group was Josh.
Too, just for the record.
Yeah, okay. I'll let you, I'm a big victory lap guy. Let's take the victory lap. But for the sake of discussion, right? Josh Rosen was the Justin Fields of this draft. As dirty as that feels to say, what I mean is he was the last of the top quarterbacks off the board. So the Cardinals actually gave up a first, a second, and a third that year. They gave up all those picks that year. The next year, the Steelers traded up. It was a similar kind of trade, similar move. They moved up to 10. It wasn't for a quarterback, and they gave up a first, a second, and a future 5th. So this is kind of halfway in between those two, which I feel like is about right.
Yeah.
So we will, I think it's going to shoot this down because they always shoot this down. I'm just going to force it.
Yeah, because the PFF simulator never programmed Carolina, the same trade to Carolina.
And again, Carolina might just sit there at 8 and say, we want him. We're not sold on Sam Darnold long-term. We want him.
I wouldn't be sold on Sam Darnold long-term, but
you're right.
Coach, interviewed with the Jets. When he interviewed for the Jets, him and Sam Darnold formed a broship, whatever you want to call it, right? They really started to hit it off. They really liked each other. Matt Rule believes in Sam Darnold. I think that they're going to at least give Sam Darnold the year, because they're going to look at it and they're going to say, hey, we give Sam Darnold the year. He sucks. We'll just be back at 8 next year, and we'll take the, Sam Howell, right? Yep. We'll take the quarterback next year. We're just kicking it 1 year down the road, and we feel pretty good about Sam Darnold. So let's see. Remember, Darnold was a top 5 quarterback talent. He was a guy that was a 3rd overall pick. He's got some ability. The situation around him with the Jets has sucked. And I think that's what Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers are banking on.
So I'm going to try. I think they actually view one of these 2 picks as disposable, because they generally don't pick. When they pick back-to-back, they trade up to do it. They don't schedule to do it. So I'll try this. Oh, I hit force trade anyway. Oh, no. Did they take that? Or did I hit force trade?
I didn't hit force trade, but it's all right.
Oh, I want to see if that would work. All right. Justin Fields it is.
Yep. I would put this at a 35% chance of actually happening, which is pretty high. Right? I think that's pretty darn high. So I'm going to sit and say a 35% chance that the Patriots actually move up and trade for Justin Fields.
So do we want to try? Because I have this trade that I really like. I think we did it last week.
I would like to try to get it back. We have 96 still. I think those 4th round picks are useless for a team like this, right? Like, what are the guys going to make the team for? What are they really going to contribute? So I would really like to try to get. Maybe we could try to get another, we could get 96 and 90 or, something like that.
Well, do you want to trade 96, or do you want to try to hold on to it and
I would much rather try to trade some of those 4th rounders, package those guys together to move.
Well, do you want to package those with 96, or do you want to package them on their own?
On their own, to try to move back into the end of the 3rd round. So you have 3 top 100 picks again, essentially.
So we can get up, if we package 120 and 139, we can get up to 92.
Okay, so that's not bad. So unfortunately, we'll force it, but there's 3 other options, right?
Right.
And they're all trading players on the current Patriots roster. Now, they didn't take a tackle in the 1st round. If they were open to taking a tackle in the 1st round, I think Isaiah Wynn would become expendable at that point. And they would actually shop him and see what they could get for him if they could get that pick back. The other options are obviously Stephon Gilmore. Could flip one of those players at this point and do exactly what Minnesota did last year with Justin Jefferson. You flip the pick, you trade Stephon Diggs, you get a pick back, you take your wide receiver on a 4-year deal that's cost controlled, right? That's right. You start over. So maybe this is where I don't know if you're going to get. So the Patriots tendered J.C. Jackson at the 2nd round level, and nobody was interested. So what you're looking at with J.C. Jackson is a 3rd round pick at best. You could.
I would rather have him for a year.
I feel like I would rather have him for a year as well. Stephon Gilmore's situation is a little bit more tricky. I think you can get a 2nd round pick for Stephon Gilmore. But again, you just traded up for Justin Fields. You just spent $300 million in free agency.
Right.
Trading your best defensive player is a backwards move, right? Like for the team this year, where does that really get you? Is that worth bridging this gap? Is it worth bridging the gap?
And there's, I'll say too, because somebody brought us up in the chat, we traded that future pick. Do we want to use those 4ths to maybe recoup that instead of moving up? Or do we want to use the 4ths to move up to 92 and then trade out of 96?
So the tough part is you wonder, without obviously knowing their board, how do they stack up these tackles, right? And where do they feel like they could get their tackle, and where do they feel like they can get their corner, right? So those are the 2 positions that I think they have to hit with one of these other premium picks, let's call them. Let's call the 4th rounders premiums as well, right? So tackle and corner are where those need to go. So where do they stack up that board? Where do they feel like those guys are worth? I still think that they want to hold on to these picks this year to at least get players at that position, because they don't want to go into next year with rookie corners and rookie tackles starting. Right.
Oh, I agree with you. I think that bringing in a tackle and a corner, I think outside of QB, which is kind of the wild card, those are the 2 biggest needs.
Right.
But what's interesting about those 2 positions is they develop those 2 positions, especially late round guys.
Especially at the corners, I'm a little bit more iffy about them developing.
Sure.
But
look at all the UDFAs. Like they don't need. My point is they don't need to take a corner in the top 60 to get a good corner.
The reason why I'm concerned about them developing a UDFA type at corner is because this year there's going to be an even smaller crop of UDFAs. It's not a really deep draft. It's not a draft where there's going to be a whole lot of talented guys that are going to reach undrafted free agency like in years past, right? A guy like Miles Bryant, a guy like a JC Jackson, a guy like a Jonathan Jones. Those guys are getting drafted this year because there's only 600 and something guys in the draft, right? So you're dealing with a third of the draft. The other thing is, with the rules that the NFL has imposed in terms of off-season training and stuff like that, you're not going to have as many opportunities to get these UDFAs on the field as you normally would in a regular season. So you're taking a risk, certainly. At tackle, I think you could draft somebody in the 5th or 6th round, and the Patriots could turn him into Michael Onwenu pretty easily, right? So that one I feel a little bit better about. But in terms of corner, I think that they're going to go top 100 at corner. I feel like they look at it on top of the Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson's contract situations. Who's the third guy right now? Right.
Jason McCourty's gone. He's a free agent right now. He's taking meetings with the Giants. It's basically between Juwan Williams and Michael Jackson at this point, which you'd like to think Juwan Williams, a former 2nd-round pick, can turn into that guy. Right. But you don't know yet. So I'm thinking what we do, Evan, because remember, we have to, you mentioned the UDFAs. They want UDFAs right now, or actually, we made a trade. So we're scheduled to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 picks. That leaves us with less than 10 UDFAs. And the Patriots have signed at least 10 for the last 5 years. 10 is the basement. They're generally closer to the 15, 16 range. So what I think we do is we consolidate 2 of these picks. We move up to the late 90s, and then we trade out a 96 and pick up a future asset. We take a corner with that pick. We move up to grab, and then we take a tackle maybe at 120.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so let me just pull up the trade chart here again, what I had. So it was 20 and 139 for 92. We're going to buy ourselves, so we're just buying ourselves a couple spots, but this is pretty peak Bill right here, I feel like, right?
Yeah, look, I'm going to write for tomorrow. You can't go uncharacteristically aggressive the whole offseason.
Look, we checked by trading up for Fields. The uncharacteristic box is checked.
Yeah,
the rest of the draft is what it is.
Throughout the whole offseason, what's the point of being that aggressive in free agency just to say we're going to be conservative, Bill, in the draft, right? I mean, you got to go all in. You can't dip one toe in the water. If you're going to jump in, you got to jump in.
I actually did my math wrong here. We can actually get up to, if I can find them. Actually, so we can get up to 87 with Pittsburgh. I don't know that Pittsburgh would trade. Like, Bill doesn't really like to trade them. We can get to the Rams. The Rams are right after them. I'll sacrifice that one pick. Because, there's just teams that Bill doesn't trade with, and we all know that.
Yeah. The Rams is a good one.
If I can find them.
Him and McLovin over there, they have a great.
So, here's the trade right here. Again, you're probably giving up a little much to move up, but you have to consolidate picks.
Yep.
Right. So we'll do that. Right. We're giving up a little much. Oh, maybe not. Okay, cool. You know what I'm going to do here with this pick? Because we have to pick for the Niners. Jamin Davis is actually going off the board this time.
Okay, I like that.
He's actually getting picked.
People, and when he's still there in the 6th round, are telling us to take Jamin Davis in the chat. We're off that.
All right, so here we go. So we want to go corner with this pick.
I do love Elijah Molden, but he's a nickel, not outside corner.
So did we just miss it? I like Brandon Browning. We weren't going to take him here, but I like him. So Melifon was the last corner, 75. That's low. Stokes would be off the board at this point.
Yeah, I think Stokes might go in the top 50. All right, let's scroll down a little bit on these corners. And
so St. Just is here. We both like him.
Yeah, we do. If they really do, so I love Ambry Thomas from Michigan.
Yeah, I actually did some work on him today.
Definitely not DJ Daniel. So to me, it might be a little bit too early for Ambry Thomas. I think it depends on how. So remember, Bill came out and he said about a month ago when we talked to him, he said that we're going to put a lot of stock in 2019 tape, right? Yep. If they can really sell themselves on Ambry Thomas's 2019 tape, then maybe it's not super high to take him here, but they might be able to wait for him. Right? We could get him. We have 88, 96. We might be able to get him at 96 or 122 as well. Right.
So The guy would have been the guy. We missed it at 66. Shaun Wade last year was a first-round pick and had a horrible 2020. This would be a great spot to take Shaun Wade.
He's a little bit more might be more of an inside guy, right?
Okay.
If we're gonna go true outside corners.
Well, he's big, isn't he?
He's a big dude, but he's got foot speed problems, right?
Okay.
He's got long speed issues. If you're gonna put him on the outside, you're expecting him to jam everybody up at the line of scrimmage, right? You're gonna expect him to be super physical, Brandon Browner type, right? Just get up in his grill and make sure that he can't open up his strides and get upfield. That's a risky business in the NFL, and that's what Shaun Wade found out last year when he played some good receivers. Finally, what about tackle? What do we got left at tackle?
Let's see. So, all right, best laid plans, right?
I think we can wait on some of these corners. I do. So I like Stone Forsythe a lot from Florida.
You do? Because you didn't like him the other day.
So I studied him a little bit more because my guy Brandon Thorne, who I trust a lot with offensive linemen, is really high on Stone Forsythe. The other reason why I kind of like him for the Patriots is because they tend to be one of those teams that when they're watching other guys and all of a sudden they sort of notice somebody else on the tape, right? So the big game for Stone Forsythe.
That's how they got a Landon Roberts.
Yeah, so that's how they got Landon Roberts. That's how they got Cash Malawaya. I know it didn't work out with Cash, but that's, we're watching, I can't remember the other Wyoming linebacker's name right now, is in last year's draft, but they were watching another player and they were like, oh, wow, this guy's really good too. Stone Forsythe against Georgia had himself a game against Azeez Ojulari, who's probably going to be a first-round edge prospect from Georgia. You're watching that Georgia game, that Georgia-Florida game for Kyle Trask. You're watching it for Kadarius Toney. You're watching it for Kyle Pitts. You're watching it for Azeez Ojulari. Monte Rice, the linebacker from Georgia, is a good player. The two Georgia corners are good players. All of a sudden, you see Stone Forsythe as a stone wall, no pun intended, on Azeez Ojulari. He's 6'8". He's a good athlete, really smooth pass protector. Lance Zierlein, NFL.com, compared him to Nate Solder. That was the NFL comparison he used for Stone Forsythe. So to me, I think that they would really like him. There's some things you got to work out. He's a tall guy. And with these tall guys, it's tough for them to get underneath people and push them off the line of scrimmage, right? It's tough for them to generate big-time movement because they are such high cut and they have such high center of gravity. But in terms of pass protection, really strong hands, locks out his length, really tough guy to get around. I think they would like Stone Forsythe a lot.
Well, and they tend to like those bigger linemen, right? I get the Nate Solder comp, but first thing I saw when I saw him was Trent Brown.
Yeah,
he's a guy who's just
he's not as big as Trent Brown, but he's not as 307 or something like that.
Right, he's not as big, but he's going to put on weight at the next level.
Yeah,
and there's some guys that even before they move, you can tell that they're impacting the play just with their natural size.
Yeah,
and he's one of them. And by the way, both Florida guys, right? Trent Brown went to Florida. Am I imagining that?
I think you're imagining that one.
I think he did. But so the other guy who kind of fits the same bill, who I know you like, is Spencer Brown.
Right. So I actually think this is a PFF simulator thing. I think Spencer Brown might be gone by this point. Okay. You have that kind of pro day. I memean, that's usually at 6'8" with an excellent pro day like that, you're a top 75 pick, right? Okay,
fair enough. So by the way, Trent Brown did go, was a Gator.
Oh, he was? There you go.
Yeah. So I think that's the sign, right? I think we go Stone Forsythe. It's a little early. It's probably a little early, but if they like him, they're going to go get him.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people I trust with offensive line really love Stone Forsythe, and I trust their eyes a lot more than my own. So let's go Stone Forsythe.
All right, so Stone Forsythe, and then we're going to have to pick up. Okay, so we're back on the clock. We're going to trade this to try to pick up future assets.
Right.
We're picking again at 122.
I think we can still wait on the corners. I think.
Yeah, because so your guy went.
Ambry Thomas.
No. Did he? Oh no, he's all the way down here.
Yeah, so I think Ambry Thomas and St. Just are still going to be there.
Yeah, I think maybe even Tay Gowan maybe, and I like him.
Tay Gowan's he's a boomer bust. There's a lot of issues with Tay Gowan's tape, technique-wise, but he's a long, athletic corner, right, that you can maybe develop to play outside. So we could trade it. We could look at the wide receiver board at this point. Not necessarily a position that we see as a pressing need, but because of the depth of the receiver class, I'm not sure who's there still. Some of these guys can play. Nico Collins at this point in the draft would be a steal, in my opinion. I think Semi Foka, I can't even say his last name.
Get it out. Who? I don't even know who you're talking about.
From Stanford. He's a
Fehoko?
Yeah.
Simi Fehoko?
6'4", 4.44 in the 40-yard dash. Ran a really good 3-cone time as well. Extremely raw, right? You're talking about a trade space prospect here. Size, speed type of, but definitely an outside guy. Amir Smith-Marset from Iowa, really interesting player as well. Smooth route runner. Doesn't look like he's, super explosive necessarily, but very loose, smooth. My guy, Amari Rodgers.
Yeah, we've taken Amari Rodgers 2 straight weeks with this pick.
We have. I'm assuming that the guy from other Auburn receiver. So Dwayne Eskridge is still here. They don't like Dwayne Eskridge a lot on the PFF simulator.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about Schwartz, right? He goes early on this. Oh no, he's still here.
Okay, so maybe Dwayne. If I don't know, if 96 could be Dwayne Eskridge's range. I don't think it's totally out of the realm. Now, he's a really explosive player, and usually guys that are that explosive with the ball in their hands are top 75 picks, right? Guys that can go from 0 to 60 like that can create 70-yard touchdowns. Those guys are usually top 75 picks. But the fact is that he's going to be able to create in special teams and on offense. So he's their type of guy. He's a 4-down player, and he played a little bit of corner at Western Michigan as well. So I'm really high on Dwayne Eskridge too. Nico Collins is the guy I'd really like them to take to just replace N'Keal Harry and get a big body X. But between those two receivers, I think we're splitting hairs, but both those guys I like a lot.
So I think that we both agree there's a bunch of receivers on the board, right?
Yeah.
I said it before we started the draft. I just don't know where the reps are on this roster for a top 100 wide receiver, unless you're just punting on Jacoby Myers. And maybe that's not the case next year. That Nelson Aguilar contract is based. I almost said N'Keal Harry. That Nelson Aguilar contract is basically a 1-year deal, right? I think Kendrick Bourne's is set up the same way. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So Nelson Aguilar is here for 2 years, most likely because of the dead money next year. Yeah. If they do cut him, I think Kendrick Bourne could probably be cut for a little bit less. But I think that the play for me, and we did this a while back, was drafting a guy like Nico Collins and then trading N'Keal Harry, right? That's where I feel like you create that roster spot at least, right?
Right.
And I don't know. There are a lot of good receivers still on the board, so we might not need to make this pick here.
So that's what I'm saying. I think we can trade back, pick up an asset next year, where, by the way, it's still a good receiver class, and the picture just might be a little clearer. I'm not saying that they're set at wide receiver, but when you have Hunter Henry, when you have Jonnu Smith, you can kind of focus elsewhere because those guys are going to be – you got to look at it as pass catchers, not just wide receiver. You got to look at it in the context of the whole roster, the whole offense. So I think we can move back a little bit. So where are we at? 96 to 120.
I think we can definitely move back. I just want to be able to get a player again. I want to be able to get 2 more guys here.
Okay, so here's – because there's still some good linemen on the board too, right? Yeah. And we know a team that needs linemen that doesn't have a ton of picks. So what if we did –
there we go.
Like this.
Big head.
What if we did that? I think that works. Hang on. That actually, and then we can actually do this. Boom. And look at this. So the Patriots, because of a couple trades, they kind of have a day 3 gap here next year, right? Yeah. And we gave away the 3rd, but the rest of this, that's what it was. They don't have a 5th or 6th next year.
Yeah.
Now look at it. Now all of a sudden we're back cooking early day 3 when the Patriots like to be. We're moving back. How many spots are we moving back here? Like 20, 30?
30 something.
But I think there's still going to be wide receivers on the board we like.
Me too.
And we get set for next year. So I'm going to try that. Nope. I'll give him one of these 7s. We don't need it. Okay. Perfect.
Of course, the 7th puts it over the top.
Right. That all important. Oh, God. They're taking Jamar Johnson because he always doesn't go either. I'm going to have to Photoshop the graphic now. Come on. How many? Kyle Shanahan. Here we go. Okay. Oh, we just missed Caden Stearns. All right. We always just miss Caden Stearns.
So let's look at corner, and then we can look at wide receivers.
Right. So let's just recap. We've made a lot of trades in this one.
We did.
We've taken just 2 players. We've taken Stone Forsythe, and we've taken Justin Fields.
I need a lot of players. I need the right players.
Right. Exactly. Again, we got Justin Fields. It's all gravy after that.
Yeah.
So here's a look at the wide receivers and the corners overlaid. So Darden's still there. Collins is still, I don't know how realistic that is.
Yeah.
Collins is still there, but Fajoko's still there. We could still get Cornell Powell, I think, is realistic maybe in this range.
Yep.
If you want that X, he's not quite Nico Collins, but you're kind of getting the same thing. They also met with Dax Milne, but I think we go corner here. Whether it's Tay Gowan, Thomas Graham, St. Juste, I think this is a corner.
Yeah, so I like Ambry Thomas from Michigan a lot.
He went. Did he go? Oh no, he didn't go. No, he's here. Sorry, he's here.
Well, again, I like the tape, and on top of it, I'm going off of what Belichick said last month about looking at 2019, right, and putting a lot of emphasis on that tape. If Ambry Thomas didn't opt out of the season this year, I think we're talking about him as a top 100 pick. They go just off the 2019 tape with this. They get a player they feel like is a lot better value. They trust the tape there. I think he can play inside, he can play outside. His game reminds me a lot of Malcolm Butler. I think he's actually maybe a little bit better than Malcolm Butler at the catch point down the field too, at tracking the football and making plays on the ball. So somebody that's going to be really sticky in man coverage, can play press, and is a really good contributor in the kicking game on special teams as well, which at this point in the draft, they need to be able to contribute on special teams, right? You're going to have to get these guys in on the kicking game as well. So I think Ambry Thomas is the pick, and then we could get a wide receiver at 129.
So my counter would be that I think you're talking about replacing one of your outside corners in a defense that's predicated on corner play. The Patriots, under Belichick outside of last year, their worst years when they came when they didn't have a true outside corner, right? The Hank Poteet years. So playing special teams, being able to move around, all nice, all good. I like all of it. But, I'm looking at which one of these guys, week 1, 2022, is going to be a starting outside corner. So and I'm looking at Gowan, and I'm looking at St. Juste for that.
I think Thomas can still play on the boundary. I think that the difference is that you're going to match him up against some of the lighter, shiftier receivers, right? You're not going to put him up against a Devontae Parker.
Well, so let me ask you this then, because this could be interesting. Is he a guy, like hypothetically projecting? He's not doing this week 1. Right. Hypothetically, is he a guy you could put on a Stephon Diggs?
I think hypothetically, yes, because he's somebody that is fast enough, and certainly with that special teams background, has some of the open field tackling ability there as well, right?
See, that interests me. Now you have me interested because you keep either Jackson or Gilmore as your outside number 1 corner. And Diggs is somebody you're going to have to deal with. We know Jackson struggled on him. Now you kind of have that. Maybe, again, I'm putting a lot on a kid here, but you get what I'm saying, right?
That's the body type I'm looking at, right?
Exactly.
I'm not necessarily looking for the Juwan Williams here. I'm looking for somebody that can travel with Z receivers, like a Stephon Diggs, who plays a lot of X in Buffalo as well, certainly. But a guy that's going to play a little bit of inside and a little bit of outside. They're going to move him around the formation left and right. They're going to try to get him up the field, but also across the field. Those are the types of guys that you need to be able to cover in foot races all around the field.
I guess the point I was making is, are you sacrificing outside ability with these other names that are on the board just to get a guy who maybe early on can do some different things, but you're probably not going to use that way long term?
Most likely. I mean, I think what you're certainly doing is, I don't know if St. Juste, it's going to be tough to take St. Juste here because they have so many bodies. Where is he going to play in the kicking game, and where is he going to contribute on special teams to warrant a pick, right?
What about Gowan?
At 188, that's a different conversation. Gowan got burned deep consistently at UCF, but he's got all the traits to work on, right? You know what?
Yeah.
He's got length, he's got foot speed for his size, but he really did get burned over the top a lot in that defense. And there's a lot of busts involved in that defense as well. So he's a real project.
Okay. So we need a shorter term project. So maybe it's Ambry Thomas. All right. So it's Ambry Thomas. I'm not against the pick. There's options here. This is the fun. This is the fun part. So
I'm just talking myself into it because of the 2019 thing, right?
And that's worth putting weight on. Also, I mean, he went to Michigan. That's they take a Michigan guy every year, and we have not taken one. Taking Ohio State and Florida.
Ohio State, Florida, Michigan. We're talking about some blue bloods, right?
And we'll get Jonathan Adams in here in a little bit. So I want to look at wide receivers, but I also want to look at safeties.
Yeah.
You'll humor me, and it looks like we can wait on the safeties. I'm not taking.
I do love Gillespie. I do love Gillespie.
I do too. Is it early though?
It's not too early. And we just took Thomas, who contributes in the kicking game. Gillespie is destined to be like a big time special teamer for them, right? You know, a guy that plays in 4 or 5 different units. What I love about Gillespie so much, the physicality from the deep middle, right? This is a guy that can play deep safety and can really bring the boom and really run the alley against the run as well. He is a physical downhill player at the deep part of the field. His ball skills down the field aren't the best out of this class. That's why he's falling into this range. But certainly the physical presence, the leadership, the special teams ability, he does a lot of things that they're going to like, right? And I think early on, you're looking at a Duron Harmon, right? A guy that can come in and play that type of role and maybe develop into your starting free safety down the road. Right now, game, Duron Harmon type of role, just a real steady guy. He played his best game of his career against Alabama last year. Okay, you know, so that's a competition.
Let's not. He also played a very good game against Kyle Pitts too.
He did in man coverage against Kyle Pitts. So a little bit of versatility he showed there certainly as well.
I like him too. I don't know if this is maybe too early. I'll add too for the people in the chat. I know Nico Collins is here. No Amari Rodgers is here. We're trying to kind of predict what the Patriots are going to do. Those guys won't be on the, I mean, maybe Nico Collins is on the board at this point. Probably not. I doubt it. So we're just kind of sticking with the guys who realistically could. That being said, so I'm looking at Tyree Gillespie. I think if we go safety here, that's our safety. It's a little early for Hamlin. And I don't, Stearns went, you know.
Yeah, you know, you go Gillespie here, I think at 188, or if we want to package 188 and 197 to move a little bit back up, there's still a lot of wide receiver talent.
Right. So I'm wondering if we can get Gillespie and Cornell Powell. Yeah, I'm wondering if there's a way we can get both of those guys.
I love Smith Marset too from Iowa, who can play a little bit inside, a little bit outside. I think my Stanford guy is still here too, right, Semi?
Right. See, I would just want to see if we can get I want to see if we can get an X that's going to push N'Keal Harry.
So I think Semi can play the X.
Okay.
Because he played a little bit inside and outside at Stanford, which I think they're going to like about him, right? A guy that can play both of those spots. Remember, their X role does play some snaps inside. It's not a ton, but they do play 30, 35% of the snaps still inside when that player is good. He's got everything that N'Keal Harry doesn't in terms of speed, right? 4.4 speed, 6.78 3-cone time, and it translates. You can see it when you watch it on tape, especially against UCLA, where he put up 16 catches and 250 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game. So again, another player too. We talked a lot about Stone Forsythe. Okay, you're watching Kadarius Toney, you're watching Kyle Pitts, you're watching Kyle Trask. Another guy, Davis Mills against UCLA, is the tape for Davis Mills, right? That's the one everybody watches to fall in love. How about the receiver catching the passes from him, right? That was Semi. He was the one out there catching all those throws. So I really like him as well. I think we can get him a little bit later. So at this point, I think maybe we go Tyree Gillespie. I think that's a really nice pick. And again, it's all about that. It's on top of the fact that he can play deep safety and play the deep middle for them and play that free safety role like Duron Harmon. The contributions on special teams, I think, is going to be really key as well.
So, we could like maybe try to move down here and turn this into 2 picks.
We could.
And I'm looking at it. So we have 17.
I think we might lose Gillespie if we do that.
Okay, let's grab him then. Let's grab him. Bill's reaching on a guy who can on a safety who can play special.
I don't even think it's that big of a reach. We're in the 4th round, really.
Oh, there was another. I didn't see him there. Oh wait, no, did I misread that? Richard LeCount was there too, who I really like.
Yeah, he's a little bit more. I think Gillespie's a better athlete. You know, Richard LeCount, I think, is more that steady presence back there. Positionally sound, kind of always in the right place type of guy, but I'm not sure if he's going to be necessarily the physical presence that Gillespie would have been.
He has some off the field issues as well. I think they're overblown, but you can't pretend they don't exist. Okay, so we traded up. We took Justin Fields.
We did.
Then we traded up again and took Stone Forsythe.
We did.
Then we traded back. I'm just recapping for everybody. We traded back. We took Ambry Thomas, right?
Ambry Thomas, and then Tyree Gillespie.
And then Gillespie. So I think, boom, those are the 4 biggest needs right there. Not the 4 biggest. Need a linebacker, but corner, safety, tackle, quarterback.
I think we can get wide receiver and linebacker in here. Maybe we can pick up a running back at some point too.
Yeah, so I just kind of want to – we're not necessarily going to take all these positions right here. I just kind of want to reset the board. And then I'm going to throw IOL on there as well. So, okay, so here's kind of the board we're working with. Again, Darden's going to be gone.
I love some Monte Rice. If we could get Monte Rice now too, we'd be cooking with gas.
I think this is more like Justin Hilliard.
Yeah.
Cornell Powell is still on the board, and I think it's a little bit of a slide, But I think you could
Well,
get
we're on
Cornell
the
Powell
couch in
here.
San Francisco, by the way.
Oh,
yeah. Take Tristan Hogue.
No.
Screw Kyle Shanahan. Whoop. Whoop Filer. Turf Borland. Poor guy. Poor guy.
Oh, I should have them take Ellinger.
Oh my God! Again. Felipe.
No, I want to leave him on the board just in case we feel all set by the time we get to 7th pick.
Oh my God, Jesus!
I love Pro Wells. That's just a great name.
He's a pro now.
What are these picks? All right, you know what? I hate to do it, but I mean, Darden would be off the board at this point. Let me get some of these guys. Okay, here we go. Okay, now let's reset the board.
There's some IDL talent still on the board right now.
Kyle Shanahan. All right, so we'll add defensive interior.
Bobby Brown.
We'll add running back. Yeah, he's long gone.
Milton Williams probably long gone too.
So, all right. So now this is probably a fall for Powell at this point. I think we're looking more. All right. I like Derek Barnes.
Derek Barnes, I don't know if he'll still be here, but that's a really nice linebacker pick, right? Does all the things the Patriots like, right? Plays on the line, plays off the line, physical, special teams. We're trying to round out these special teamers as well. Dave, definitely special teams with Derek Barnes as well. Checks that box. I don't think he's still on the board at 188. It seems like really versatile player, really effective player. 188. I don't know. You know.
I like Dahlman. I like Tonga. Now Jacob Harris would be a very interesting pick here.
I like Semi from Stanford a little bit better. I think he's still there. Shea Smith also, if you're looking for a pure slot guy, if they're looking for I'm
looking for the opposite.
I want an outside guy too, but if they're looking for a slot guy, then Shea Smith right here is a really nice pick. So did Semi go from Stanford?
He's still here.
So
I think we get him here. You think they could get him here?
I think they could. We're in the 5th round. We're in the 6th round. He's projected on NFL.com to go 5th round, right? But there's so much talent at wide receiver that some of these guys are going to get knocked down.
Right, somebody has to fall.
Right. Semi, again, it's 6'4", 4'4". Right, you have that size, you have that speed, you have the ability to play on the outside or the inside. You have a guy that can really run, and it shows up on tape that he can really run. And I think he's a pretty physical ball carrier as well. It ran some guys over in some of the tapes that I was watching of him too. I think it's a great pick here. I think you're stealing him at 188, a developmental wide receiver prospect. Why is he developmental? At the line of scrimmage, dance a little bit too much against press coverage, right? You don't want to expose your chest. You don't want to hang out at the line of scrimmage against press. You want to get up the field. He hangs out a little bit too much. The other thing, drops the ball. He does have some issues with drops.
See, will they take that guy though?
I don't know if they will early, but at 188, we're having a different conversation, right?
Yeah. See, if we want the big wide receiver, Jacob Harris, he's a wide receiver and a tight end. We know they want the wide receivers who can block.
Yep.
Right.
He can block a little bit. It didn't show up as much as you would want. But again, when you're watching Stanford, all these guys can block so well that the guy that's maybe a little bit weaker there really sticks out a lot of the time, right? As a bad blocker because they're all so good there. Jacob Harris is the other one, right? It's one of those two guys. I like Semi's tape a little bit better. I can see the Jacob Harris upside there as well. I look, we have 197 too. So if you really want to, throw some darts.
So here's what I'm going to say for Harris. He was probably the better player in 2019.
Yeah.
So that maybe that's the decider here. We used it for corner.
All right, I'll let you. Yeah, I'll let you win this round.
All right, because we agree Cornell Powell be off the board here.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think so too. Because Powell's another one. Are you serious?
Take Bobby Brown. He wouldn't be here.
Okay, yeah, that's what I should have been doing with these picks.
Or Milton Williams.
Instead of taking, would I take Ian Book? Oh, see, Deontay Smith would have been an interesting pick.
Yeah, that's another developmental tackle guy.
All right.
Don't have a ton of East Carolina tape in the in the database, so I wasn't able to watch a ton of him. But he's big, long developmental guy.
So we've gone. We got our quarterback. We got. I always want to say Trey Lance. I know it's Justin Fields. I always want to say Trey Lance. We got Justin Fields. Yep. We got Stone Forsythe. Yep. We got Ambry Thomas at corner. We took Gillespie as a safety, and that was just our 5th pick. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5. And we're set to make 7 picks right now, which I really like. I think that's the number. Let's look at. I want to look at linebackers.
Yep.
And you can tell me to add one here if you want. But I think we're looking at linebackers. We're looking at running backs, an interior offensive lineman. Maybe I'll throw interior defense.
Terrible D-line class, but.
Yeah, that's like, I think we can just get somebody who's just like a big body who we can try in the 4th round, like a Taquan Graham or somebody in the 4th round.
Yeah, so I don't know.
7th round.
Derek Barnes is still on the board, but he's going to be gone, I think.
Right.
Can we pull up just the running backs? And
the running backs? I mean, we should have it. I mean, I like have it memorized who the running backs are at this point.
So Chris Evans is a nice athlete, right? Like he kind of fits some of the things that they like. Maybe we're too early for. I mean, I know you like Raheem Boyd.
I do, yeah. But again, I think at this point, there's. I think you can get one of these guys a UDFA. I think they maybe they're going to get one of these guys a UDFA at this point.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's look at what was the other spots?
Let's do linebackers. I want to do linebackers.
I would love to take Derek Barnes, but I think he's going to be off.
Yeah, he's going to be. And then we're another special teams guys. So we missed the boat. I'll check something on Derek Barnes real quick, but I'll pull up. Let's look at the IDL.
Where
the DI?
Tonga's an interesting
Tonga is an interesting one here.
We're maybe a little late.
I don't think we're that. I mean, the nose tackles, that's just a position as a whole that's going to slide.
Another one too. We talked about. I keep mentioning it, but like you're watching other guys on BYU, you're like, oh, who's this big nose tackle? This guy's kind of good. Taquan Graham's a good pick too. Here, I mean,
that's the thing. Like, I think we can get Taquan Graham at 242.
Yeah, I wish that there's some of these guys like I like Tonga, but like, don't they kind of need more of like an Adam Butler type too? You know what I mean? Like,
Godshot.
I could go either way.
Godshot's on a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to stay in a 3-4 here for a couple of years beyond that deal. Yeah. So I'm looking at it as, okay, it's a late pick. You're looking like pure upside at this point. Can you get somebody who's just going to kind of sit for 2 years and then is going to take over when Godshot's contract's up?
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking to do with this.
Tonga's that guy. I mean, he's a big boy.
Yeah, but I think Taquan Graham can be that guy too.
Yeah.
Let's look at, I mean, they could double up. Who's here at corner? Is there anybody? Nobody that Nashawn Wright kind of, but it's too early for him.
San Diego State's like an interesting, like mostly probably a special teams guy, right?
Yeah.
He's probably not going to play a ton for you at outside corner, but they could take another tackle.
So here's an interesting one. Cole Van Lanen was a 4-year contributor, 2-year starter at Wisconsin at left tackle. He's a good player. He was hurt by injuries, but his arms are short. So apparently he's going to play guard at the next level. But I mean, that's a 3 or 4 position guy, team captain, Wisconsin, Big Ten lineman, right?
They also love taking offensive linemen in the 6th round, right? This is like their money. They took both Heron and Onwenu were 6th round picks last year. You might be selling me on the.
James is another one. It's kind of a similar thing where like he's not like physically he's not an NFL tackle, but he has all the superlatives.
Yeah.
I personally like Van Lanen better, although this is probably a better spot for James. Part of the reason I like Van Lanen better is the depth. You didn't watch either of these guys, did you?
No, we're way too far down.
I can tell. I think James would be an interesting pick here. I think he'd be a guy they'd like. We're gonna double up no, because you know what? Van Lanen has the positional versatility. He can play some guard too. So we'll
what other positions have we not hit now that we're getting into this? I still feel like
Taquan Graham went. That's a tough one.
I still feel like Bill Belichick wants to take a running back.
I do too. I mean, it's not going to be Khalil Herbert.
No.
That was the Niners pick. I think it's running back and linebacker at this point.
Yeah.
So Puka Williams has the domestic violence thing. So that one,
Derek Barnes did the PFF slide. You know, he was this draft.
Well, because we took Jamin Davis earlier, so
he was this draft Jermaine Davis. There's no way he's going to be here in the 7th round. Let's see. Let's scroll down on the running backs a little bit. Man, there's not much left.
There's not. Yeah, see, I thought we were going to be able to get the tackle here. I really thought we'd be able to get to Taquan Graham here.
What about just look at defensive line and just see if there's anybody that jumps out.
This is it. I haven't watched any of these guys.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Well, we could trade it. All right. Nobody.
You're right. I mean, we're not going to get anything for it. We're going to get a few. Okay, hang on. I just Googled this real quick. Quinton Bohanna, 6'4", 357.
All right, sign him up.
Team captain senior year, 4-year starter, a 3-year starter, 4-year contributor. Yeah. A highly ranked high school recruit.
We're going to talk about him like we know exactly who he is on Saturday too, right? We're going to be
now I do. I do. This guy checks a lot of boxes. This is why I love doing mock drafts and stuff like this, because you get into these windows, like everybody has their guys, right? You watch college football in the fall, you have your guys, but then you get in this spot where there are none of your guys, and you just randomly click on a name because, oh, he's at the top of the list, or oh, he went to this college, or oh, he plays this position. And then you find somebody that there's actually something there. So Quinton, I got to check one more thing actually before we take him. Let me make sure that this guy's not like a second round pick.
I don't think so.
That we're just is being PFF, right? Like, let's say we didn't know who Jamin Davis was. Oh, 7th round Jamin Davis. No, I don't think this guy's projected very high. So we'll make the pick, and if we're idiots, we'll get chewed out on Twitter. So
all right.
I'm surprised we made to the last draft having to make one of those picks.
Yeah, I love it.
So I am Utah, because I might have to Photoshop this.
Okay, so I just want to recap where we stand right now with the Justin Fields trade rumor. So I have heard that the Patriots have tried at least to set a parameter of where they would feel comfortable trading up. Right now, it does sound like 8 to Carolina is sort of the spot that they might be targeting to land Justin Fields. I said at the beginning of the podcast, I think it's about a 30 to 35% chance that actually happens. So I'm still leaning heavily towards no trade up, right? But I do think that there is a chance that it does happen. In tonight's mock draft, I feel like Alex and I wanted to sort of combine what we think might happen and what we hope might happen.
Oh, right? I thought we were just doing think, but okay.
I think what we ended up with is what we think might happen and what we hope might happen, right? Because I still, I still think that the most likely scenario is the Patriots don't trade up for Justin Fields. But I do think it's on the table. I do think it's a possibility, and I do believe that Fields is the guy that they're looking at. I think that Matt Jones could be, but I think the whole league feels pretty good that he's going to San Francisco at 3. So
I would agree.
Justin Fields. Then I think the other couple of needs are cornerback and tackle that they want to use premium picks on. Both of those positions, looking ahead to 2022, there could be a big hole at starting at one of those spots, right? Whether it's right tackle, left tackle, outside, either the outside cornerback spots. So we got our tackle and Stone Forsythe. We got our outside corner, or just cornerback in general, and Ambry Thomas. And then we got a guy in Tari Gillespie, who I think is going to be a really good player for the Patriots. A deep safety, free safety type that also plays in the kicking game. I think he's going to be a 4-down player for New England someday. So I really like the draft that we did tonight. Again, Justin Fields at the top, 30-35% chance they actually trade up and make that happen. I do think it's on the table, which I wasn't ready to go there a week ago. 2 weeks ago, and say that this is truly something that could happen. I do think that they have had those discussions.
Well, so let me ask you this, because I feel like we're all talking about it and like, yeah, he could fall. And like, it seems like at this point, it's more about them being willing, like the conversation at least is more about them being willing to do it than like the situation presenting itself. Are we sure Atlanta's not going to jump in at 4 and spoil the party? Because I feel like that situation went away under the radar, kind of went away almost suspiciously quietly.
So the reason why, and actually I think it was Kyle Pitts that went on NFL.com recently, maybe even today, and said that the first 4 picks are going to be quarterbacks. So maybe Kyle Pitts knows something that we don't, right? Because you would think that if it was going to be 4, Atlanta was going to hold that pick, they would probably be taking Kyle Pitts there. But I think the thing that you see with Atlanta is that the guy that they probably would like to end up with, they're going to take a quarterback, is Trey Lance. I think that they would feel like from a developmental track, keeping Justin Fields on the bench for a year or 2 doesn't really make much sense, right? That's a waste of an asset. Whereas with Trey Lance, I think you can sell yourself on the fact that, we are developing this guy, right? We're Patrick Mahomesing this guy.
Right, work in progress.
Right, exactly. Whereas with Justin Fields, I think that's a little bit it just doesn't make much sense in terms of the track, in terms of the schedule of Matt Ryan's career and Justin Fields' career.
Well, so I guess, but then the question is, even if they take Lance, there's still a snowball effect from that. because now there's 2 quarterbacks on the board at 6 instead of 1, or there's 1 instead of 2. You get what I'm saying? Like, can Atlanta ruin this? Is Fields getting to 8 predicated on Atlanta not taking a quarterback, regardless of who the quarterback is?
I probably, but the other thing that I would say is that from everything that I have heard, it doesn't sound like the Patriots are entertaining a super trade up, right? Like, I don't think they're going to go from 15 to 4. Okay, I don't think they're going to pay what San Francisco paid to make that happen. So what I would be a little bit more concerned about is some dark horse team, whether it's Denver or it's Pittsburgh or it's the Washington football team or something like that, is willing to pay an RG3 type of king's ransom to Atlanta, right, to get Justin Fields. Because I don't think the Patriots will do it. I don't think they'll go to all the way up to 4. So if one of those teams is willing to pay 4 future first-round picks, 3 future first-round picks, 3 was the RG3 trade, I think, was 3 firsts and 2 seconds, right? Something like that, to move all the way up to 4, that could spoil the party for the Patriots. So I'm not necessarily saying that it's going to be Atlanta specifically, but one of these other teams, whether it's Denver or whether it's a team behind the Patriots, I think they could spoil the party for New England.
But again, so I guess I'm hinging on the concept. And by the way, I have the draft up now if you want to pull it up. I had to Photoshop all the Niners picks out. I think, we like only traded with the NFC West. I think we got an A-
on this draft solely because we took Justin Fields. Like, I don't know if the simulator liked a lot of our other picks, but they really liked that one.
Oh, I mean, we got what, 1B, and it was a trade. I mean, it was polarizing to them.
We got C+ for Stone Forsythe, which I guess I can sort of understand.
Yeah. So to go back to the trade, I think that it all comes, like, the Patriots have that 15th pick, and unless Denver wants to get involved, isn't that the trump card? Unless some team wants to go nuts and just throw out all their future assets, right? Shouldn't 15, like, because these teams still want to pick high. They're trading back, but they're not trading out. Shouldn't 15 be the trump card against anybody but Denver?
You would think so, unless one of those teams is willing to put in like 3 or 4 first-round picks into the future, right? You know, that's going to be tough to compete with. Now, Benjamin Albright, who covers the Broncos in Denver, I really trust him when it comes to Broncos stuff, right? Yeah, he's going to be right about it.
He's good. I like Ben.
Yeah, he has said basically from the jump that the Broncos are not really leaning quarterback. Would they take a quarterback at 9 if Justin Fields falls in their laps? Maybe. But are they going to trade up aggressively to take the quarterback? Probably not. So that's why I think the Patriots are calling about 8, right? Because you get over Denver, you make sure Justin Fields doesn't fall in their laps, but you're not as worried about the Broncos aggressively trying to outbid you to move up past 8, right?
And I actually agree. I think a lot of the Denver talk came from, and again, big Drew Lock guy here, and I'll admit it. But, I think a lot of it was, remember, because they were in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. And not just in it. I mean, they were one of the 2 teams that he was going to waive the no-trade clause for. And, look, I like Drew Lock, but if I can get Deshaun Watson, I'm getting Deshaun Watson. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But, are you going to give up a ton to grab a project quarterback when, is Lance, you probably think Lance is a better prospect than Drew Lock, but is he 2-3 first-round picks better?
Right.
I don't think so.
To me, what makes more sense for Denver is taking a guy like Kyle Trask or Kellen Mond.
Like that's exactly,
right. Like taking a guy that maybe has a higher floor than Drew Lock does as a prospect, so you can kind of talk yourself into like them being like a Kirk Cousins type for you, right? And maybe that works out for you that way instead. But again, I trust Albright with everything Broncos. He still doesn't think that they're going to trade up for a QB. Would they take Justin Fields if he's still on the board and they're on the clock at 9 and he's probably graded as everybody's best prospect at that point? Maybe, right? But in terms of actually trading up and giving away assets to move up and move into 4, let's say with Atlanta, Albright doesn't feel like that's what the Broncos have in store for this draft.
And I don't think so. That's interesting. Somebody in the chat, you always get a C+ apparently for offensive line, defensive line, and running back. So Evan, they're keeping us in check because I want to draft running backs. You want to draft a lineman. No, but so, okay. So if this is just to kind of get back to it here, now that we have it on the screen.
Yes.
If this is the result, if we go to bed Saturday night and this is the result, how do you feel?
I got a big smile on my face. Don't you?
Let me ask you, Fields aside, if this is the result, how do you feel?
I feel pretty good about it. I think that you would have wished that you could have gotten a corner with a little bit more,
upside.
upside or maybe even a little bit more floor, I would say,
Okay.
than Ambry Thomas. Somebody that they could start sooner or feel good about starting sooner. But other than that, I think we did really well. And you got to give up 46. That's a tough.
Right.
That's, as I said at the beginning, that's the cost of doing business to make this move is to get 46 involved. I wish they could keep 46 so they could get Justin Fields and they could get Eric Stokes or Tyson Campbell or another really a good corner, right?
Yeah.
We talked about as well them possibly trading Stephon Gilmore or trading J.C. Jackson to bridge the gap here. Maybe that's a possibility so that they can get up a little bit higher to get that corner. But I feel like other than that, we did really well. I think Stone Forsythe's a guy that a lot of people are sleeping on in this draft because there's just so many damn tackles to talk about. There's going to be a couple of guys that we're not talking about enough.
And by the way, Josh McDaniels saw him in person. He was one of the 6 offensive players that worked out at Florida's Pro Day. Yeah, I think, again, and somebody said it in the chat, and I said it earlier, and you're right. You get Fields, the rest of it's gravy. And that's why I'm kind of saying, like, aside from Fields, because we can't, you can't analyze it, including Fields, because it's just good. And that's the end of the conversation. But, I feel like you got to hit on a couple of UDFAs here. I think you need to hit on a UDFA running back. I think, like you said, if they can grab another UDFA corner, I think that, that would be a good fit. Maybe you see what you can get at linebacker. Those would be positions I'd prioritize at UDFA, but we opened up spots for him, right? We made 7 picks. So that would leave the total roster at 83 players. So, I mean, maybe you make some cuts here and there. You can get to the 10. Yeah. Maybe you trim a couple guys. But no, I think that, I think we did a good job with the realism. And I think that I think there's a real chance they could walk away with maybe not these exact players. Like with the mock, the exact players kind of aren't the point, as fun as it is. You're more so looking at what's the pattern, what's the flow, what's the strategy. And if it's, quarterback, lineman, and then you just kind of start picking based on 2022. And that's sort of what we did, I think, here, even into 2023. If that's the strategy, if that's the blueprint, that works. I think that works.
I also feel like we got some players in Forsythe and Ambry Thomas in particular that we aren't really talking about as much, like we haven't talked about as much for the last couple of months necessarily. Yeah. So I think a lot of people are kind of like, who are these guys? And this isn't, why do you take these guys? These guys.
I mean, we didn't know who one of the guys was. By the way, I looked it up. He's projected 6th.
Oh, yeah. Our 7th round pick
on NFL.com. They're going to take him now. They're going to take him. I'm convinced of that.
I like it. But I think
apparently he's called, what was it? It was Big Q or something?
Yeah. Okay.
Big Bo.
Go watch Georgia, Florida.
Oh, wait a minute. His uncle played for the Patriots.
Oh, there we go. We're just connecting dots.
Well, hang on. Did he play for Bill? No. Left in 85. So did he play for Parcells? No.
Stone Forsythe, go watch the Georgia, Florida game from this past season, 2020. Watch the left tackle. You'll feel a lot better about that pick.
Just watch everybody against Florida, because then if you watch Missouri against Florida, you can see Gillespie. And I don't know what Bohanna did. I don't know what Big Bo did against Florida, but it's SEC football. So, yeah. So, So what did we do for schools? Because we were hitting on all the big schools. We went Big Ten, SEC, Big Ten, SEC, AAC, Big Ten, SEC. So Big Ten, SEC, those are 2 best conferences. ACC, I'm not a big ACC. I think it's just Clemson. That's the ACC. It's Clemson. Yeah. It's not a conference.
Notre Dame's in the ACC now too, right?
That was like a 1-year COVID thing. Not really. But
okay. All right.
All right. We're stalling at this point. I don't want to give them a mock trade. So what is this, 5?
Yeah, this is 6.
6?
This is 6 or 7. Well, I don't know if we're counting last week.
We're not counting last week. Last week was like a holiday special.
I think this is 6. 6 for the Patriots.
So I did 9. I did 9 officially. Should I do one more?
You got to.
These and the Sports Hub ones?
You do one Thursday morning.
I got kind of like a hybrid mock draft big board thing I'm working on. That'll be up tomorrow. 98.5thesportshub.com.
And I got a mailbag / what I'm hearing about what they might do in the first round thing coming tomorrow as well.
Nice.
Basically what we talked about at the beginning of the show, but just written form. So there'll be some other things in there that we didn't touch on tonight, but here it is. This is it. This is the piece of resistance. This is our Mona Lisa. Alex and I, since
wait, so one more. So we'll call it 5. We won't count the one last week. We did 5.
I think we did 6, not counting last week.
However many it is. From not saying like this one draft, from all of the drafts we did. So we probably picked somewhere like 50, 55 players.
Yeah.
Do they take any of them?
I'm confident that we're going to get one.
Okay, fingers crossed.
What if we wake up Sunday morning and this is the draft? I mean, we did great, right?
I would if it's even like a collage of all our drafts.
I always feel really confident. I'm like, I nailed my mock draft this year. You never nail it, right?
It's like March Madness,
right? This is the perfect bracket. You never nail it. We understand that. We get it. Yeah. We're not taking ourselves too seriously here. We get that. The odds of the Patriots actually doing a draft that looks like this is probably about 1%. But we're just hoping, like Alex said, that across the 6 mock drafts that we did for the Patriots, we hit on at least one, hopefully multiple guys that they're actually going to take. So you guys can say, hey, oh, yeah, they talked about that guy. They took him in that mock draft, and I had heard all about Ambry Thomas, or I heard all about Jacob Harris, and I know what that guy brings to the table. So that's our hope with doing all these, is just to talk about as many guys as possible, to have a good conversation about as many guys as possible. We will have coverage during the draft, doing live streams as well. Myself, Alex is going to join in as often as he can, and we're going to talk about everything that the Patriots do. So you can watch ESPN, you can watch NFL Network, but if you want a Patriot perspective on the draft, CLNS Media Patriots Press Pass on YouTube. That's where we're going to be at, and we're going to give you everything from a Patriots angle. We're not going to talk about it from a national scope. We're just going to talk about the Pats stuff. So that'll be a lot of fun. We did it the last couple of years as well. So if you've seen it before, it's going to be basically the same thing. So come and join us there.
Can I just add one more thing?
Yes.
Like, we're acting like this is the end. This was not like an off-season thing. Like, these shows are still going to be a thing, and hopefully a thing. Yes. You know, we're going to do a show Thursday morning, but like hopefully, into the season. So this isn't we're not done here. We're not done talking football.
We're definitely not done. We're still going to do our Q&As next week, I'm sure. And we're definitely going to do an episode, or maybe 2 episodes, depending on how many picks they make, where we go through every single pick. And if I didn't study a guy before the draft that they take, I'll study him after the draft.
Big Bo.
Once they did take him, maybe it'd be Big Bo, and I'll give you a scouting report on the guy then. So we're going to do a show, probably Tuesday's show. Well, we'll see. We'll see how the days line up. But at some point, we will do a show in the next week where we recap the entire draft and go over every single pick. We'll do some Q&As. We'll do some roster resets. The show is not going anywhere at all, but this is our final mock draft for the 2021 NFL Draft. I speak for myself. I hope I speak for Alex in saying that we thank all of you for watching and participating in these mocks. They've been a whole lot of fun. And let's just hope that the Patriots come away with something that looks like this. Like, I think that if they came away with something that looks like this, certainly if they came away with that quarterback of the future, all of us could be happy about that. So again, Thursday, we will be back, wall-to-wall coverage for the NFL Draft. We're finally here. We finally arrived. But thanks to everybody for participating in these mock drafts. They've been a lot of fun, and we'll see you Thursday night.